Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Information Paradise podcast. We have Seth Kostek back. Welcome to the channel, Mr. Seth Kostek.
Well, thank you very much for having me back. It was a pleasure to talk to you last time, and as you know, I love to talk about this stuff. So, any chance I get to do it, I take that opportunity. So, thanks for having me back. And I think maybe where we should pick up is just a little bit about talking about non-duality. Since your channel is sort of talking about non-duality, let's talk about talking about non-duality first. And because see, I think the thing is with all of these YouTube channels, I mean, it's great to even bring up the idea or the premise that you're in some sort of non-dual conscious singularity here. But the issue with it is that it's not a belief system. So it's not a religion. And so when you're watching videos about it and people are talking about it and it sounds confusing or counterintuitive or contradictory, that's because you're trying to use dualistic mechanisms of mind to grasp something that's not graspable. So it's not understandable like that. So while these YouTube videos and things and all these spiritual teachers, it's great that, people are learning about this. But to grasp it, you really have to, it's like a practice or a self-inquiry that you would do. Or you just have an epiphany and you awaken to it. And this is why I think you'll see in like the spiritual traditions, like you had these like Zen monasteries and things, and you would go there. And they didn't teach you beliefs. They tried to wake you up in various different ways. It's an inquiry that you do, or it's a dialectic. You have to use a dialogue to break through the beliefs that you're holding. Mm-hmm. So we could do that today. We could talk about non-duality. I could say weird stuff, and then the people would be like, "Oh, wow, that sounds profound," or "Oh, that sounds cool," but they don't really understand it, right? So we could do that, and a lot of people do that, and a lot of people talk about this stuff, and they it just sounds, well, to scientific perspectives, it sounds like woo-woo garbage. But to people that are kind of lost out there and they're looking for some spiritual thing to latch on to, they'll say, "Oh, this sounds profound. Mm-hmm. It's great," but they're not. They're just like either I see a lot of like regurgitation of just some spiritual catchphrases out there. Yeah. But they're not really embodying it. So what I think we could try to do is try to do a little inquiry ourselves. So, you have your perspective here, and you can think of it like you've built out a mountain of beliefs, and you're sitting on your little mountain here, and you're looking out as what you believe to be David, and this is David's perspective, and Seth has a perspective over here, and he's got his mountain of beliefs, and so
we've got different viewpoints.
They're different viewpoints. So what I think we could do with an inquiry is, so I want you to see from this mountain over here, this perspective, that's come back here with like a conceptual understanding of non-duality. So what I need you to do is walk down your mountain and then walk the path to get to my perspective, leaving your perspective. As you go down this mountain, your beliefs will start dissolving, and then you're now going to have to find your way up this path and then look out through my perspective without your beliefs. And so this is what empathy is. So when you have empathy for someone, you're literally now standing in their shoes as them. You've given up your beliefs. So you're not going to have judgment that, "Oh, this perspective is wrong because he doesn't believe the same things I do." Well, no, you're going to give up those beliefs. You're going to come up this path and see, and you don't have to stay there. You can look out and say, "This is too scary. I don't like this." I'm going back down. I'm going to be David again. Forget this whole thing. So you could do that. Or you could get up there and you could say, whoa, this is a different way of looking at the world. It's just, I'd never thought about it this way. And then, yeah, maybe you've got little problems in life that you want to solve or deal with. But now from this perspective, wow, it gives you a whole nother toolkit to deal with this little, I say, game of ignorance. So yeah, again, a game is a diversion, right? And so in order to ignore your own infinite being, you have to look away from it. You have to see every apparent thing out here as something that's not you. You have to ignore it. And by ignoring it, you're playing a little game. So I don't mean, when I say game, I don't mean triviality. It's not some trivial little chess game that you're playing. This is like on the cosmic level here. This is big time. So I just mean a diversion or an ignoring of what is actually here. So why don't we just start and see, what your beliefs are. So we'll start up here and we'll say, okay, are you David?
Okay. So
now,
that question.
no, it doesn't have to be this like,
Okay.
right, well, I'm going to pontificate and no, I'm the universal. No. If someone were to walk in the room right now and say, David, go to the store and get me some food, would you go? Would you respond to them?
Yeah.
Are you David? Yeah, you would. So, okay, so I am David. Okay, so those words, that's a statement, right? Were those words here prior to, well, was David even born? Are you alive? Are you a human being? I mean, are you alive, David?
I'm alive.
Are you a human being?
Yeah.
Are you on planet Earth right now?
Yes.
Is this planet Earth in a physical material universe?
Yes, but these are all beliefs, but yes.
Yeah. So all these words that we just used, right? So these words, I am David, were those words here prior to your birth?
No.
They weren't. So if I were to look up the 1876 Oxford Dictionary, the word I would not be in that dictionary?
They would.
Okay, so those words were here prior. If you believe you were born on a date, and then there's time, so you're believing in time here. So you've got all these beliefs. So, and these words that you're believing, they're all here prior to your birth. These are statements that you've accepted, even the words, like the letter A or the letter B or the letter C. The symbol, the letter C, you look at this and I say, that's a letter C. Yeah, that's a letter C. That's also a statement you accepted, right? You didn't invent the word, the letter C, right?
Well,
you didn't invent any of these things.
I'm a genius, but no.
So these are all statements you've accepted, and even the language that you're using to be able to English the content here are statements that you've accepted. That language and those linguistics, that's also all just belief. Like, so everything, all your statements, I am David is a belief. I'm a human being is a belief. I'm alive is a belief. This is an earth is a belief. This is a physical material universe is a belief. This is the letter A is a belief. This is the number 1 is a belief.
Whoa.
Okay, so you've got all these beliefs. And this is like just a first thing to just sit and like just contemplate here. Okay, so wait a minute. I thought that, no, this is an earth. That's a fact. That's not a belief. That's a truth. That's not a fact. That's not a belief. But wait a minute. What's the definition of belief? It's the acceptance of a statement as true or that something exists. Okay, so these are beliefs because these are statements. And I've accepted them. So I've got all these beliefs here. So you've got to just sit with that for a little while and just let that soak in, because what a lot of people have done is they don't recognize that the facts and truths that they think are actual, that those are conceptual. Facts and truths are conceptually true beliefs within a paradigm, within a belief system. So they're not actual truth. They're conceptually true. So something is conceptually true because it's not conceptually false. So these concepts are what everything's made of. And this is how you're going to get conceptually true and false statements like, oh, it's conceptually true that this is a planet Earth. But that conceptually true statement, you have to recognize that that's a belief. That all those conceptually true statements are beliefs. And that's mission critical.
Hang on a minute, Mum, it's coming up. Mum, can you go down? I'm filming. Thank you. Jeez. Love you, Mum. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so and the fact that you believe that's your mom, right? That's another belief. And someone will say, well, but that's true. She is my mom. Yeah, but that's a conceptually true belief. It's a statement you've accepted. She told you she was your mother. That's still a belief. So this is just something where if you can't even get past this stage of understanding that these are all beliefs that you're holding, then you're going to have a hard time coming off of your because if you don't recognize your beliefs as such, if you see this mountain as truth, this little stack of beliefs that you're sitting on to create the illusion of your perspective, then you'll never be able to even climb down. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to challenge them because you see them as truth.
Right? So
well, it's just so when I say you have all these beliefs within a paradigm, so you have a paradigmatic system of beliefs that contextualizes all the content. So if I say this is a hand, right, you say, oh, okay, that's a hand. But in the background, you have all these beliefs that you don't even see as beliefs. It's like transparent. It's a transparent context. You're putting that hand in the context of, well, it's physically existent. It's material. It's in a universe. It's attached to an alive person. You don't even know you're doing this, but you would say like, oh no, this is a physically existent hand. And the word exist, this is conflated with the word being, which is incorrect. So there are two different words. One is being and one is exist. They're spelled differently. They have different roots. They're different words. They mean different things. So being means is, what is. Exist, that means to stand outside of. To stand,
X.
X out, to stand out. So what is this exist? What do I mean when I say this hand exists?
Does it mean that we ignore the rest of the content?
It does, but if I am knowing that there's a hand here, then the hand is standing outside of that knowing. The knowing is believed to be inside the living human being in somehow, right? It's either produced in the brain, that's what they believe, right? They believe consciousness is produced in the brain or somehow associated with the brain, right? So my brain would be inside my skull, inside my body. So the consciousness would be in here somewhere, and the hand stands outside of that consciousness. So that's what exist means, to stand outside of.
Wow.
So it's just, you just look these things, you just look up these words. It's a game. You've played, these are the little rules you've written for yourself here. Okay, this is what believe means. This is what exist means. When you have the wrong definition or are using words incorrectly, you're fooling yourself. I mean, if I thought this was really a sandwich, right, I have a big problem here. I'd be eating my hand. So I have to have the right definition. Oh, a hand, that means an appendage, right?
Yeah.
You can grasp something. Okay, well, that's not something you eat. That's something you use to eat stuff with. Okay, so I mean, that's a ridiculous conflation or something, right? But this is what we're doing, the subtle conflations of like exist and being. Yeah. These subtleties, this is what you have to uncover in your little inquiry here.
Could you give some more examples?
Well, yeah. So okay. So you right now you've started to recognize that these are beliefs. I am David is a belief. This is a world is a belief. All of these things are beliefs, and then you start to look at your language and you say, okay, well, there's a difference between being and exist. Okay. So I think this is an existent physical world. So I think it stands outside of my consciousness. And my consciousness is contained within here. Okay, well, let's now that we sort of have this like understanding of, okay, this is what I believe. I believe I'm human. I believe it's an existent world. I believe I'm seeing existent objects. Okay, let's inquire. So if I'm seeing these fingers here, right, and I say that these fingers exist, how are you seeing them? If I'm seeing these fingers and that image tells me that there are existent objects, is that really true? Does anything stand outside of consciousness? Or is it all inside of consciousness? So I'll ask you, you're sitting there. Were you sitting there for 12 hours?
No.
Okay, so you had to move from somewhere else to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that with your eyes closed or open?
Open.
Why?
So I could not bump into shit.
Okay, so how would you know to not bump into shit? How there could be some shit there. How do you know it's there?
Okay.
You had to get there, right? So there had to be a path free of objects. Yeah. How did you know that there were no objects in your path?
I had to know what was around me.
Yeah, but we want to know objects not being around you. So how do you know that objects are not around you? If you need a clear path, so like this hand, right? Okay, I'm saying that I'm seeing it. It's a physically existent object there, right? So how do I know that this hand is here?
Because you can see it.
Okay, so an image tells you that there's an existent object.
Also, you can feel it, sense
it. No, but we're just looking at vision here.
Okay.
So I asked you if you opened your eyes when you were walking towards your current position, and you said yes, because otherwise you're going to bump into something. Okay, so how does an image tell you that there's an existent object there?
Don't know.
Well, this is one of your beliefs. So when I have an image, a known image, or a determined image, right, of an object, that tells me that there's an object there. I'm believing the statement that, hey, when you see an image, that tells you that there's an object there. That tells you that something exists, stands outside of consciousness. Okay. And like you just mentioned with the touch, I get confirmation of other senses, like, okay, I'm seeing an image there of this little finger, and okay, I now believe that there's a finger there, and I'm going to test that, and I go out and I touch it. Oh yeah, the image was I confirmed the existence of a material physical object there because I was knowing an image of it. Ah, okay. So now, if known images or images with a one-to-one, there's one finger here, right? I can go out and, oh yeah, there's only one there. So a known image with a one-to-one fixed correspondence to the object, that's telling me that stuff exists. Okay, so known images tells me that physical material objects exist. Okay, so how do you tell, in this empty space here, how do you tell that there's no objects in there? I've got an image of a finger here in this space-time volume, and that image is telling me, okay, something exists there. But how do I know between the finger and me, how do I know that there's nothing that exists between the finger and me right now? In this space.
I suppose there's no image of the finger.
Correct.
Okay.
So, okay, where I see known images that determine the existence of objects, where I know the lack of an image. There's no images between me and the finger, and I know that because I can see the finger. If I put up a hand between me and the finger, now I see the hand. I don't see the finger anymore. It's blocked. But where there are no objects, the lack of an image tells me that there's nothing exists there. Okay? That's light resolvable. This works for light resolvable objects. So people say, oh, there's air, there's oxygen. That's not resolvable. We're talking about vision here. You believe you're seeing stuff from light shining on it, and the known images of that you're knowing convey object existence. And like you just said, you walked to get to your current position with your eyes open because you needed to know not known images in your path. You needed to know the lack of known images, and the lack of those known images told you that there was a free and clear path to get to your destination.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to know the space.
Yeah. So this is good. You're seeing your beliefs, and now you're starting to inquire. Okay, I've held this beliefs my whole life that I'm seeing objects. And I never really thought about how I was really, with my vision, determining the non-existence of objects.
Yeah.
So the lack of images are telling you that objects don't exist. And then you can walk through those spaces.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is good. We're starting to understand. Okay. So now, this is a little logic that we're doing. We're just logically analyzing our beliefs. We've got all these beliefs, and we see now, okay, this is how something exists, this is how something doesn't exist. Okay, well, let's do science, because belief and logic, that's like a philosophy, right? So I have a premise, I've got these beliefs, and I use logic to justify these beliefs. But science is cool because it uses experience.
Yeah.
And so experience, right? This is consciousness. Consciousness is experience. It is knowing what's occurring. This knowing of what's occurring, this consciousness is infinite truth. This is where science goes to discern which of your beliefs here are valid and which are not valid. So how would you, if you're saying that, okay, known images, so, determine the existence of objects, and not known images, or the lack of a known image, determines, between these two fingers, determines that there's no objects there. Okay, how would you test that? So the claim is that light is shining on this object and traversing space-time, going into my eyes, making a known image in the mind. The known image isn't out here in this paradigm. In this paradigm of material physicalism, this is an object out here. I have an image recreated in the mind of this finger. So
Yeah.
that recreation is mediated by light, right? So, okay, how would you test that light shining on objects determines their existence?
Within the next 10 seconds, I'll not know. But if we give it more.
No, but so okay, let's think a little bit more on this. Okay, so why again did you have to open your eyes to walk the path to get to your current position?
Because I only noticed a difference in objects when there's the light, because it blocks off the lights, doesn't it?
Okay, but let's just say you knew the path, you have your eyes closed, you know exactly where every single object is. Exactly where. Would you need to look? Would you need to open your eyes?
No, I do have a small house. Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, so the reason why you needed to open your eyes is because the path was unknown. If you could know it perfectly, if it was perfectly known, you wouldn't need your eyes, right?
Yeah, no.
But because it's not determined, you don't know. Your mom could have put something right in the middle of the path like a few minutes ago, and you would have tripped over it, right? Because it's not determined. You're not knowing a known image of that path in your mind prior to looking at it. So it's not determined. Just like the stuff behind you right now, right? You're not knowing any known images of it. It's blank back there. I turn around, and now, the paradigm of material physicalism says I turn around, and the light that was hitting the back of my head, that was being emitted from these objects, right? It turned around, and now that light's entering my eyes, and now I'm seeing a known image of this cabinet, and then that tells me, okay, this known image, there's an existent object there. Okay.
I thought science was boring. Honestly.
No, but this is starting to get interesting. So not only do images indicate to us the existence of objects, and the lack of images indicate the non-existence of objects, the objects, prior to knowing the image of them, right, they're undetermined. So we've got this link now between vision, existence, physical material objects, and determination. This is all linked now in light-mediated perception.
Could you explain that link in a really where I can put it on the screen, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. But here's the deal, right? So if there are objects out here that physically exist outside of the knowing of them, right? Then this is what duality is, right? You've got something in here versus something out here. They're separate. Something's outside of this knowing. So they're not the same being, right? Someone would say your consciousness is not your fingers. Fingers are physical material objects, and your consciousness is some airy-fairy thing we don't know anything about. We can't say anything about it. It's not tangible, right? They'll say that's mental and this is physical. So this is a duality, right? So this is duality. Okay. But now look at this little inquiry. We're going to question that existence. So do these fingers really exist outside of consciousness, or are they inside of consciousness? Made of consciousness? That would be non-dual, right? If you think the consciousness is in here, and then every other piece of content is also that consciousness, then nothing would exist. Nothing would stand outside of consciousness. There would only be consciousness.
Yeah.
That would be non-duality, right?
Ooh, shit.
So non-duality would be, these fingers would be inside of consciousness and made out of consciousness. Alpha Centauri would be inside of consciousness and made of consciousness. And there would be nothing outside of consciousness, because anything outside of consciousness would also be consciousness. That would be non-dual. So this is what this cute little inquiry, this is where it's leading us. We're going to tie image formation to object existence and the lack of image formation to object non-existence.
Okay.
And how you are determining object existence. So again, that which is behind you is undetermined. And the path that you were walking was undetermined. That's why you needed your eyes to tell you where the known or determined objects were, to determine them so you don't bump into them. Okay, and this is super interesting because, again, this is where quantum mechanics goes, right? It's showing you how determination is occurring. Determination, well, we'll get to that. So again, now let's just think, how would you be able to test vision if you have to come up with an experiment to shine light on undetermined objects to see if you produce known images that determine their existence?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, okay. So we think that there's light interacting with known or undetermined objects, then traversing space-time and creating known images in my mind of those objects, right? So how would you be able to test shining light on undetermined objects to see if you produce known images that determine their existence? So like right now, you're looking in a direction, right? You're seeing known images.
Mm-hmm.
That's all determined, right? You've determined your environment.
Yeah.
This is why biology proposes the mechanism of perception, because an organism to survive needs to determine its environment so it can find mates, so it can find food. Otherwise, it would die, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now behind you, it's not determined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. But as you turn your head around, you determine that undetermined, right?
Yeah. And then you become undetermined.
Yes. And no matter what you do, you can never get the undetermined into the determined.
Whoa.
But that's what you have to do. If you're going to test this, you have to bring the undetermined, that blank bag here, into your determined field of view. Okay. Because you have to look at what's happening. You have to shine light on this bag here. And then watch to see if shining light on undetermined objects produces known images that determine them.
Okay.
So how are you going to do that?
Well,
don't worry. It took me 4 years to figure this out. So it's not figuring it out in 5 minutes. It's going to be hard.
I have got an answer though.
Okay.
So
what's your answer?
We'd find out what the known is, and then we'd find out where there is unknown, where that could possibly be, and then try and know that.
So you want to find a known object or an unknown object?
Okay, so if there was like a dark room and there was a torch in the middle, I'd find out what I know. So I know the corner. Let's say there's like 4 corners. I'll put a picture up on the screen here. Each corner of the room, there's a different color. So like red, blue, green, yellow. I'll find out which color am I seeing with my torch, because I'm only in one corner. And I'd say, okay, red. But by the way, how would I know it's red? Because I don't know what the other colors look like. But I don't know.
Yeah, so here's the thing, is that you need something that's truly undetermined. So when you close your eyes, right, the image that you're knowing is determined to be a blank black image. Like when you close your eyes, or you're in a dark room, right? It's black. Black is a determined field of view. It's just black. I mean, yes, the objects, you're not seeing the objects because there's no light traversing space-time in that physical material paradigm. But behind you is not black. Even in a black room, it's still, I mean, there's no color to it. This is totally, it's not even transparent. I don't even have a word for it. It's blank, right?
It's not known.
Yeah, it's undetermined. So again, I have to get something that's really undetermined. I can't like trick myself by shutting off lights and thinking that I'm working with this undetermined. No, I've got to get a real something that I cannot determine.
Whoa.
I cannot know. So this is the problem, right? Because everything in my field of view is determined. So okay, how are we going to do this? And so this is where we get into the double-slit experiment, because this is an assay of an undetermined object. So
what's an assay?
An assay is just an experiment, you know. So basically, what the double-slit experiment does is it allows you to shine light on an undetermined object and collect an image. So this is what's going to be your scientific assay of the undetermined, to see what's going on with vision. So instead of going to the double-slit experiment, let's just use our 2 fingers. So let's just say in the double-slit experiment, you have two slits that you're going to shine light through. Okay. So with the double-slit experiment, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have 2 slits in a barrier, 2 holes. Okay.
Yeah.
Side by side. And the configuration of them is such that you cannot determine which slit the light goes through. So you have an undetermined object that you can shine light on, and then you can capture the light on a screen. So it's mimicking the undetermined environment that you have, that light is shining on and going in your eyes, and then the screen is like the image in your mind. So the screen is like a little perceiver. It's capturing the perception. And then you can look to see, okay, when we shine light on undetermined objects, do we get known images that determine their existence? Okay, so that's hard for people to think about. So let's just start with 2 fingers. So I'm going to have, instead of 2 empty slits here that I'm going to shine light through, I'll just have use 2 fingers. So I've got 2 objects, okay, here, that, now these finger objects, they're determined. They're not like the slits. The slits are undetermined because we can't know which slit the light goes through because of the geometry. So it's, the slit object is undetermined. These finger objects are determined, right? So I know with certainty that I've got a known image of 2 slits or 2 fingers because I'm seeing 2 of them. And I can say, oh, okay, I'm seeing 2, and I can reach out and, oh, there's 1, and there's 2. Okay, I've got 2 fingers and an image of 2 fingers, and I've got 2 finger objects there. Great. Now, with the undetermined object, if these 2 fingers, where are the 2 doubles? Was the double slit? When you shine light on them in that experiment, you don't get an image of 2 fingers or 2 slits. You get 10-finger image pattern. So you get a pattern of fingers or slits that looks like this, but the object is really 2 slits. So when you shine light on an undetermined object, you don't get a known image that has a one-to-one fixed correspondence to the object producing it. You get an undetermined finger pattern. So shining light on an undetermined object does not produce a known image that determines it.
Is that because light is waves?
No, because think about what we just did here. The path that you had to walk, you had to open your eyes and walk to the position you came to, okay? Mm-hmm. You knew that there were no existent objects there because there were no known images in your field of view in that path, right? So knowing not a known image, right, told you that the path was free and clear.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay, so you shine light on an undetermined object and you get not a known image out.
Yeah.
Does that object exist?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay. When you were walking your path, you were knowing a free and clear path of not known images. You were knowing the lack of known images. That told you that there was nothing existing there. So you could walk through it. You weren't going to bump into anything because nothing exists there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, when you have your undetermined slit objects and you are knowing not a known image, you are imaging them. So you shine light on the undetermined slit objects and you are knowing not a known image. Do the slit objects exist? Did the lack of known images in the path that it took to get to your current position, did the lack of known images convey to you non-existence?
Yeah.
Okay. So does the lack of a known image here convey non-existence?
I feel my intuition says yes, but I just don't.
Yeah. So when you shine light on an object, right, and you remember your perspective up here, you got all these beliefs.
Yeah, you're right.
You're coming up against a big one here. You're like, wait a minute. I want to believe in all this non-duality, but these fingers really exist. But wait a minute. If I'm knowing not a known image, then that's telling me that doesn't exist. Wait a minute. If I shine light on an object and I do not produce a known image, then the theory of light-mediated perception under material physicalism is telling you that those objects don't exist.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but remember, exist doesn't mean being. So they don't exist, but they are being. They're occurring. They don't stand outside of consciousness.
Wow, okay.
They're in consciousness. They are being. They are consciousness. This is consciousness right here.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what that experiment is telling you. It's not... it's not saying anything about waves or particles, because again, if these objects don't exist, and I can put this experiment I could put it on a ship and blast it off and send it to the edge of the universe. Then everything between me and these slits doesn't exist. It's all in consciousness. I could put this at the other side of the globe. That means everyone on that side of the globe doesn't exist. Oh, okay, wait a minute. That means nothing exists. Nothing is outside of consciousness. It's all in consciousness. Well, wait a minute. If consciousness is an infinite dimensionless singularity, and everything is inside of that consciousness, then there's no light traversing space-time at all. If you're dimensionless and infinite, if that's what's really here, then there is no space or time for anything to move in. I mean, how far can you move in no time and no distance? You can't. You can't move anywhere. So nothing's actually moving anywhere. This is an illusion. You think things are moving around, but what you're doing is you're knowing the interference of concepts. And it's this interference of concepts that holographically produces the illusion of this physical reality. It's just like, you have an old-time movie reel, and you can have it in, they have those huge tin cans. They used to swap them out. So when you're watching the movie, it looks like people are moving around. You're seeing images and like hands moving across the screen and people talking, right? But what's the reality of it? You take that movie roll, you roll it out, and you just see cell after cell after cell, static. Nothing's moving at all. There's nothing moving there. It's just there. So it's the same thing here. The entire singularity of consciousness, all of the concepts that constitute its being, are simultaneously occurring, and you're just ignoring some and paying attention to others. And you don't even know that this is what you're doing. You're totally oblivious to this. So like right now, like you're knowing the concept of giraffe not equals giraffe. And you're looking around right now and you're saying, no, there's no giraffe here, right? Because a concept is there's really orthogonal complementary opposites. And so the set of potential that makes giraffe, whatever a giraffe is made of knowing that it's not giraffe. So I know a giraffe is not a finger. So do I see a giraffe here? No, it's not a finger. I'm knowing a finger. I'm knowing not giraffe. I know a giraffe is not an elephant. I know a giraffe is not a heart. I know a giraffe is not a molecule. I know it. Okay, you're knowing right now, your field of view is being composited with not giraffe, and that's what you're knowing. The giraffe concept is occurring. You're just knowing this part of it. You're just knowing its complementary opposite. And then when a giraffe comes into your field of view, you flip that concept so that now you're paying attention to giraffe, and you're ignoring not giraffe. You're ignoring everything that's not giraffe when you've got a giraffe in your field of view. So this is how everything's happening. And so now you could think about this. Like, let's go back 5 million years. Like, let's pretend it's 5 million years prior, or let's say 1 million years. So we're still humans. There's no technology. There's nothing here. Okay. Back then, the concept of an iPhone was occurring. It's just that all those Neanderthals walking around were knowing not iPhone.
Whoa, okay, yeah.
So it's still the same singularity. Plutonium, they didn't even know about that. Elements, no. That was all occurring. Except they were paying attention to not plutonium. They were paying attention to not CERN. They were paying attention to not spaceship. So this is the thing. The infinite singularity, all concepts are occurring. It's just that as consciousness knows or flips these concepts around so that they interfere with each other in a certain way, then you start to conceptualize your own being into those new concepts. You just never knew because these concepts are transparent. They're made out of knowing. Giraffe is made out of knowing that it's not giraffe. So there's no tangibility or image to giraffe, not giraffe. Like giraffe, not giraffe. I don't know what that would be. Is it a giraffe or is it not giraffe? It's one continuous, infinite conceptual superposition. There's no way to know it as an object. So these things are transparent, and when you're knowing, the orthogonal set of not the I don't know how to say it, not the real limit, then it's a transparent, like, infinite set of elements. So like you can think of like the number 1, I'm knowing a number 1. It's made out of knowing that it's not 2, not 3, not 4, not every other number. So the infinite set of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way infinitely. Infinite meaning not large. Infinite meaning unlimited. An unlimited set. Well, it's unlimited. That which is unlimited, I can't wrap the mind around. I can't grasp it. It's not a graspable object. In order to have an object, this double-slit experiment is showing you that you have to interfere concepts together, and you can only pay attention to the real components. You can only pay attention to the squaring of potential. So this is where you get into quantum mechanics, but this is what's going on. And I don't even know where we're going with all this, but but this double-slit, oh yeah, you're talking about light traversing space-time. So this infinite singularity, once you understand that okay, we did an actual scientific experiment. This is not woo-woo beliefs or some weird logic. We tested with experience. We actually take slits, shine light on them, and get an image, and we're doing it in the knowing of what is occurring, in consciousness, in experience. So we do this in experience, and this is what science is. And it's telling you, in experience, experience is actual. In the actuality, actual is truth. In truth, in what is actually occurring, we find out that shining light on undetermined objects does not produce known images of them that determine them. Thus, the object in that experiment does not exist. And someone conflating the word exist with being would say that's impossible because they exist. No, they are being. They are occurring because I am knowing the occurrence of the slit objects. So they are being, but they don't stand outside of consciousness. They don't stand outside. They don't exist. And this is, Einstein famously said, he's walking around with Abraham Pais, and he's like, he hated quantum mechanics, and he didn't get it. And he said, hey, do you really believe the moon isn't there when you're not looking at it? And that's just the wrong mindset. This is telling you that these guys don't understand. Because when you are looking at the moon, it doesn't exist. You're looking at the moon and saying that moon exists. No, it doesn't exist. It is being. It's in consciousness. It's part of consciousness. So somebody will say, oh, you're not looking behind you. That stuff doesn't exist in your little quantum mechanics world. Well, it doesn't exist when you are looking at it. That's the issue with quantum mechanics. They think like, oh, this is an existent physical material world. Then they do all their quantum equations. They're like, no, there's nothing here. The quantum mechanics is like they're trying to hold these two contrapositive things. Like they're trying to say that, oh, no, quantum mechanics is so accurate, it works, and there's nothing actually there. But then, yeah, no, there's a real physical material world here. No, you've proven that there is no physical material world here with an experiment. And this is just the thing, is the ignorance, the ignorance, the ignoring of consciousness. That's what's going on here. You're ignoring it. because when you're knowing through the mind is making these opposites. It can only see things in terms of these complementary opposites. It can only grasp or have the illusion of grasping something with an edge. The edge is an illusion. It's just concepts that interfere that make it appear that there's an edge to consciousness here. But in reality, this is just consciousness, because there's nothing to this hand other than the knowing of an image of it, the knowing of the sensation of it, the knowing of the thought of it. There's nothing to that hand other than that knowing. And that knowing is what consciousness is. So I don't know how good of a job we've done with the little path. We're supposed to walk down a path. But I get off onto these things and I just started talking. So I'm sorry about that. But hopefully you could see, like, just start walking around and say, okay, well, how do I, even you drive your car, right? People, you'll talk about this and then people will say, well, you're not really determining the existence of objects when you're seeing them. Well, ask somebody that when they're going 90 kilometers per hour on the highway. Do you drive your car into the images of other cars? No, you drive into the spaces where there's no known images there because you don't want to die. So, well, why do you drive into where the spaces are, where there are no known images of other cars? Because the lack of a known image of a car tells you that there's no existing car there that you're going to run into. And you're putting your life on the line with that. Like, you're literally putting your life, people say, oh no, you're not determining existence of objects. Well, you're putting your life on the line when you see the lack of an image and you go into that volume at 90 kilometers per hour. Because if you're wrong, you're dead. You're going to hit something. But people every day get in their cars and drive very, very fast. Well, so this is the thing about a paradigm, is it's an underlying belief system that you don't even think are beliefs. You're ignoring it. It's just this invisible context that you put around everything, that you're contextualizing everything with this paradigm, and then you forget about it. You don't know that you're doing it. And then, you say, well, Seth, this doesn't make any sense. You're just saying that, you're in a dimensionless singularity, so how could you even drive anywhere if there's no dimensions? Right? Well, this is what I'm saying, is the driving and the cars and the stuff here, this is conceptual. It's made of concepts. It's made of the mind. The mind is an activity of consciousness, knowing complementary opposites. This activity, when these concepts interfere, they produce the illusion of content. So this content is conceptual in nature. It's relativistic. It's made out of these opposites. This is why we have relativity. Relativity has nothing to do with, there's no space-time here. That's a concept. It's a figment of your imagination. Your consciousness imagining this. And relativity is the reason why things are relative, because everything is made out of these relativistic complementary opposites, knowing that they're not each other. And so that's where relativity comes in. Relativity is like the core of quantum mechanics. It's not that there's like relativity over here and that is incongruous with quantum mechanics. No, there's nothing incongruous because there's only consciousness. There is no space-time out there where things are traversing distance and things. This is just a conceptual ignorance of consciousness's being. So consciousness is ignoring its infiniteness to sculpt its own being into these forms that it then labels with other concepts that then you're knowing. So it's not like that this singularity is sometimes I'll say, oh, you walk along your singularity to get some. There's no actual walking around your singularity. It's these concepts that are interfering, and they are dimensionless. There's no dimension. They're only made of the knowing of them. They're only made of knowing. So there's nothing to anything other than the knowing being of consciousness. And it's like an impossible thing to believe your way to. Like, this is not a religion. The way to go about it, again, is to do these inquiries. To start out, and I really like the double-slit one because we're so indoctrinated with material physicalism. Everywhere in the world, doesn't matter what culture you're in, you believe you're a physical, material human being that contains consciousness, that's knowing its little existent world. And so this experiment takes that, the nuts and bolts of it, of how you're seeing, how you're determining existence. It's a tangible, concrete experiment that you can perform yourself, and then you can analyze. And that's what I suggest people do, because even just talking about it and hearing this, it's like, yeah, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. You have to do it yourself. You have to experience your way to it. So I'm pointing people towards this experiment and really understanding what it's saying. Understand how, go through the process, like, okay, how am I seeing? What does it mean to see through empty space? Start really looking onto that, and then say, okay, this double-slit experiment, this guy said this is an assay of visual perception. I always thought it was something about physics, about electrons, or like, it's about vision? It's really about vision? Yes, it's about vision. It has nothing to do with photons or electrons or anything. It's about what you, it's really digging down to your beliefs. It's digging right into the core of your beliefs, that you are a physical, material, existent being seeing objects. Oh, is that really what's happening? And this is where I say, it's like, okay, do a lot of work to really think about it, because it's hard to think about not a known image. Easy to think about known images. I see an image, it's known. It's there, I can grasp it. Okay, this is a known image. But it's hard to think about the empty space where there are no known images here. And I get a lot of people too. They're like, well, yeah, there are no existent objects between the fingers because I'm not knowing an image of them. But there's air there. There's air, so there are existent objects there. I was like, no, you're going. This is where people go off on these tangents. They're like, I'm not talking about unresolvable objects. I'm talking about light resolvable objects. And then they'll go off on this whole. It's like, okay, fine. You could do this experiment in a vacuum. Remove all the air. then they'll go off on some other thing, right? So it's like, no, you have to you have to carefully assess what the belief of light-mediated perception is stating. And it is stating, one more time, light-mediated perception claims that shining light on undetermined objects determines known images of them that determine the existence of that object. So that's what light-mediated perception is claiming. And a lot of people with this kind of experiment will try to come up with experiments using determined objects. No, we know that determined. The reason why you had to open your eyes to walk the path to get to your current position is because the path was undetermined. So if I was shining light on determined objects, well, I wouldn't need, if the objects were determined before I even shine light on them,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't need my eyes at all because I'd already know the image in my mind. I wouldn't need to shine light on things. But no, my environment is undetermined. It's constantly changing. I got a cat in the house. If I don't open my eyes, I step on the cat probably. Cat's always on my feet. It's not determined where that position of that cat is. Okay, so I just don't know. And so this is this is why you use vision to determine the existence of these things. And that's what you thought all your whole life. But when you do a test, you find out that these objects, they don't exist. And again, when you say that to someone, and they're sitting here with their perspective, and belief number 3,576 says exist means being. Oh, now you see the problem. They got to trap themselves. They have the wrong definition, and so that's preventing them from going down this path. They can't get off their mountain because they can never get past this belief. They get to here and they say, no, this is stupid. You're dumb. This guy's full of woo-woo BS. Okay, well, you got the wrong beliefs. I can't help you. It's nothing I do for you. So your friend is your dictionary. Use your dictionary. Look up. I love etymology online. I look up the roots of words and where they come from, and because this is consciousness's little game. It set up the game. And part of the game, hey, is knowing certain perspectives with wrong definitions. Yeah, it loves to see him bump into these walls. It loves to see him get into here and be like, I can't, no, this is all stupid. Yeah, because if it breaks through this belief, oh my God, I always thought exist meant being, but it means to stand outside of, oh my God, okay, now you can get past that level. Now you come down here and it's like, now you can start walking up this path, and once you start getting close and you start saying, oh, wait a minute, things don't exist. This is weird. I don't want to go. No, I'm coming back down. I'm going back up to my mountain. It's safe up here.
Yeah.
Because, see, up here, I'm a living human being that really exists. Over here, I don't exist. I'm not alive.
I'm dead.
Wait a minute. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. I'm not dead, nor am I alive. Consciousness is not, it's knowing the illusion of things dying and things being alive. It's a being. It is an infinite being of all. It's a motherfucker, this thing. This thing is not
graspable.
It's you can't say anything about it. What I'm trying to do is say things about this illusion. I'm trying to say, okay, how does the mind work? So the mind, and here's another, so when I say the word mind, sometimes people will say, well, that is consciousness. And technically, yes, there's only consciousness. So there's only this knowing. But just like you have an ocean, okay, there's only the ocean. But there are currents in the ocean. Those currents are made of the ocean. They're still just water. There's nothing to the current other than the water, right? So the mind is an activity of consciousness being. It's an activity, and that activity, well, there's only knowing. So the activity is a knowing, and that knowing is knowing complementary opposites made of the knowing of them. So, I'm knowing this potential over here. What is this knowing potential made out of? Knowing that it's not this over here. So it's just this knowing. It's just this cyclic, logarithmic little dance here of knowing opposites. So the mind is this, while it's made of consciousness and occurring in consciousness, and its activity is consciousness. By knowing these opposites, it's able to ignore part of its being. Because what it's going to do is when it interferes with these opposites, it's going to ignore what I'll say is the imaginary components of the interference. So just like a sculptor, you've got a statue that you're going to sculpt, right? So you've got this big block. There's just a block of marble there. Okay, you could say that block of marble is like infinite consciousness. It's a totality. It's all there. Every single statue you could ever want to carve is in that marble. It's all there. the whole thing. Okay, but so for consciousness, if consciousness is this marble, right? In order for consciousness to see a David, the statue of David, right? So in order for consciousness to see a David, it's going to have to ignore stone. It's going to have to remove stone, right? So since it's an infinite being, it can't put that stone anywhere. It has to ignore it just right where it is. Which would be, so it's just, you would have to look at the stone and ignore part of the stone to see the statue. That's what consciousness is doing. It has to find a way to ignore its being, to see the illusion of hands and humans and things. But the reality is while I'm ignoring my infinite being, the reality is that this is the infinite being. There's nothing behind the scenes somewhere. There's nothing anywhere else. You've never moved anywhere in your entire life. You've always been in this dimensionless now of eternity, of your own being. You've always been here. And it's just like a movie reel. It's fooling you, and you're getting really engrossed in this movie. You're getting really into it. It's just like the movie reel. That it's you're just paying attention to the illusion of motion and just getting wrapped up in this little diversion, this little game, this little engagement of amusement. So, and again, if you have, on the other side of things, if you do yoga practices, or if you start, if you have just a flash of, enlightenment, right? You start to see why you're ignoring this, because this being is just, it's just too much. It's a God. It is God. God, not a God. It is God. God. It's crazy for me to say that. You have to understand, I've been an atheist I still am an atheist. I still don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. But there's only God here.
I know what you mean.
So it's just this weird thing. That's why I just prefer to say consciousness, because it's knowing. God is all knowing. You're hearing these words, you're knowing this conversation. If God is all knowing and you are knowing these words, you are God. So the word God just has so many connotations with it. It's just hard to even mention that word because people are freaked out of it, especially scientists. They just don't want to go there. The real cool thing is that this doesn't. So this realization and this little new paradigm, this paradigm shift. So we're thinking about, we're contextualizing everything under material physicalism. But now we're going to shift. If you look at the experiment, they did this in like 1928 or something, right? So, or 27. So they've been misinterpreting it for a long time. But this experiment is there, and eventually people will wake up to it and realize, oh my God, nothing exists outside of consciousness. Okay. Well, just in this intellectual logic game that we're playing, the earth is still here and everything's still here, and okay, it didn't make everything vanish. It's not some hocus pocus thing. It's just a new way of viewing the world. It's now just, okay, we're viewing the world from actuality, not from this little fantasy that we thought we were these existent beings outside of consciousness. No, it's just a new way to contextualize our experience. So we've got this infinite experience that we've limited to being the illusion of these humans. You're still in non-duality, right? You're still a human being, but you understand that none of this exists outside of consciousness. It's all made of consciousness. And then once you start looking at the world from this perspective, where can you take your physics? It's not the end of physics. This is like the beginning of a new unbelievable physics where they were constrained mentally, right? They were constrained by the limits they were knowing. They were thinking everything was physical materials. Well, that put constraints on their equations. You have to have these operators in physics to use the wave equations to do anything. So no, let's go away from that and build a new physics to deal with actuality. Because the closer to actuality you can get, right, the more powerful, the more you can do with your physics. So when we went from Newtonian physics, right, to quantum mechanics, we got closer to actuality. Quantum mechanics is describing this mind of consciousness. It's describing how the mind is working. But the people that are using it are still seeing that as describing physical material objects. Well, once we can get on the other side of this and get to the paradigm of conscious singularity, yeah, maybe we can open up the physics to a whole new world of possibilities. I don't know what we can do. I don't know where we can take it. I don't know what we can do with it. But all of science is based on experience. It's the word experiment. It's the same word. It's based on the actuality of what is formally occurring. The knowing of experience. That's what's actually occurring. And so that's why science is powerful. That's why when we use it and we're getting closer and closer to this truth, which again, you can never, I'll say this, like it's like a limit in calculus. Like you can get close to it. You think you're getting close, but you can never reach it. You can never reach the limit. It's infinite. So you think you're getting closer with these little games you're playing, but you're not. You're just on that wheel. You're just going around this wheel.
Yeah, like
forever. And yes, it's just going around forever and ever and ever. We think, oh, there's progress and stuff here. And oh, yeah, we go to the singular consciousness. Yeah, we're going to get closer to the truth. No, you're in the truth. You're ignoring it. There is only the truth here, which you are ignoring to know this ignorance of it. To see, again, to see distinction, distinguishment, discernment, to know that this is two and not one. I have to ignore that this is consciousness and this is consciousness. Because if I both really embrace them as consciousness, there would be no difference between these fingers, between me, this computer. It's all a totality. You just see the totality. That can accidentally, you can do that. You can accidentally fall into that or, embrace it. Different perspectives have to go about it in different ways. I don't know, like again, we have these two different perspectives based of all these limits that we're knowing, all these takes on in the mind. Consciousness is knowing us as these different perspectives. What sort of practices or do you do anything? Like, are you describe yourself as a seeker. So what are you currently doing in your practice?
Well, I try not to do anything, so because I'm aware of the mountain of concepts, so I try to see reality without these concepts, and you just get what is, and I don't know.
Yeah, I just from there's a trap that I think a lot of people fall into, and that is that everything's the same. Everybody should do this. It's very funny. You see these like Zen. No, this is the Zen teaching that's the best, and this one's the best, and this. No, oh, you like that guy over there? That he's wrong. Oh, that guy's wrong. You've got to do this kind of yoga or that kind of yoga or this. You went to the wrong temple. You did. Okay, this is part of the insanity of this whole thing. So I don't know what works for different people. Okay. I could say, hey, everybody just go out and do as many psychedelics as you can. But people, some won't react well to them, or they go off into I don't even know what they do. Some people can use them and they wake up right away, right? It's very powerful. Some people need yoga. Some people need meditation. Some people, it's spontaneous. Some people, it's near-death experience. It's funny because, see, I don't know what you need for which perspective. I have no idea what will work for you. So it's something that if you're really into, find what works for you. Like, if you really want to wake, you will provide yourself with the means to do it. You will. I think the thing is to really realize is that a lot of times people say they want to wake up, but they don't. You're finding ways to ignore yourself. You're finding ways to get close to it, but then keep it at bay. You're really so just because you've got limited apparent time here, really just be honest with yourself. Okay, yeah, I thought I wanted to wake up. I thought it was gonna be this cool thing, but I don't really want to do it. I want to do something else. Okay, fine. Do that something else. Just really ask yourself what you really want. Because if you really, really, really want to know, this will be an obsession. I mean, I was obsessed with this. In fact, this is all I've been doing, really. I have my job, but this is really all I do, is I work on these little models and just constantly, I'm just constantly blown away by my own being now. I'm just constantly into spirituality and trying to face myself. But what I keep finding is I'm finding it just harder and harder. I don't know, to face myself right now. I can't seem to get back into it. Like I try, and then it's like too terrifying. I really got to this point where I'm terrified of myself because I've seen or become this totality, and it is more than you will ever bargain for. It is unbelievable. It is so good. It's terrifying. It's so magnificent. It's like the fear of God is a real thing, and that's the thing, is I don't know. I don't know if I'm ignoring myself or afraid of myself or right now. And then that will pass at some time and I'll accept it. But right now, I can't accept myself. I can't face it. It's hard to accept it. Like when you really get in there, it's hard to accept that you are Hitler, that you are you've devised every cruel thing in the world. Like, it's hard to face that. And it's not like you're facing that as like a physical object, but somehow in the being of it, you can just feel the might or the majesty of it, and all that is like contained in there.
The wrath of God.
Oh, wrath, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of at just this little crossroads right now where I don't know what to do with this. So just kind of, I guess the advice a lot of people say is just let it go. Just let it be, and you'll pick it up when you feel like facing yourself again or feel like getting back into it. A lot of people use non-duality or spirituality for improving their lives or something, right? I meditate so that I'm more calm, or I meditate, I don't like all this chatter. That's fine. You do it for that if you want. But you're already this perfection. Once you understand that there is no possible way to improve yourself, it's impossible. You can...
Damn, poor connection.
Well,
this is imperfect. I shan't have it.
No, this is what it is. This is
imperfect. I'm angry at God. God, you. Where are you?
You have nothing but yourself to blame.
Fuck. I'm gonna go crazy. Yeah, man.
Is it coming in better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just think the thing is that you're already this perfection, and you're pretending that you're not. You're pretending that you're this little imperfect human. Oh, and I can make this human better because I believe these are better qualities. Okay, these are your beliefs. Someone might say, oh yeah, someone that's athletic and fit, that's better than some fat slob. Is it? It is from some perspective. See, from God's perspective, it's not even a perspective.
Yeah.
God is the fat slob. God is the fit guy. God is both of those. You would never know what being fit and healthy is if there wasn't the fat slob. So you need all of it for that understanding, and consciousness is infinite. It's not limited to not being any one of those things. So it is all. It is perfect. So you can play the game of ignoring that and saying, oh yeah, no, I prefer to be healthy and eat greens and vegetables and all this. You can pretend that. You can pretend that that's good. And then say, oh, okay, yeah, let me improve myself. Oh, I'll eat more vegetables. Then I'll be a good guy. You can do that. But this is just a game you're playing. Those are conceptual good versus bads. They're conceptual true versus falses. They're not actual. The actuality is the consciousness that is making the illusion of those complementary opposites. So play the game of improving yourself if you want to, but have fun fooling yourself. But I would say, really look into what you want, because you'll get it. If you really want to wake up, you'll start really. It's almost like a lifelong dedication to this stuff. Like I just became obsessed with it, and I just can't. This is all I think about. The magnificence of this thing. It's unbelievable. So I think it is helpful to talk about this. But the problem with this little conversation here is it's been a little one-sided. So if I just keep talking and you're listening, well, you're forming judgments and beliefs, and he said this, so you're the one that has to be talking. You're the one that has to. It's okay to talk to yourself. I talk to my cat because it's easier than it is myself. But I'll say things. Okay, well, does this make sense? Or I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of I write things down. Okay, what does this logically predict? Or okay, how does this work? Okay, and I just keep inquiring myself. Because the answer has to come from you. It can't be a belief. A religion is not going to work. A religion is just a trap. It's just building up more beliefs, and some people will make these arguments that, religion helps humanity get through certain things or whatever. These are just stories. If you want to wake up, you have to know. That's just it. Knowing, not believing, not logicking. Knowing. Look into that knowing. What is that knowing? That's where you got to go. So you're the one that has to inquire. And so if you can find a teacher that will not tell you things, that will just do these inquiries where they ask you a question and you answer it. They ask you another question. You'll keep going down this path until eventually you get an answer that's not logic. It's not a statement. You're going to just, oh my God, it just opens up. You just become the totality. So it's very hard. The amount of ignorance, right? I think people don't understand the God level amount of ignorance that's going on here is so huge. It's so massive. I don't know how I don't know how God could break out of this own game. It seems like almost like an impossible thing, but yet it happens. People awaken. So, I mean, I think that's what you should do is just start some inquiries or something, and then, I'd be happy to come back again and we can talk about, or, you can talk about your progress or what you're doing. And if you could explain the double-slit experiment to me in your own words and really understand it, and you could teach it to me, then you would know that you really understood the sort of the little inquiry that experiment is.
All right. Challenge. Challenge accepted.
Yeah. And then, well, we'll see what happens. Because if you really get it, it's a shocking. Niels Bohr, when he was looking into modeling the atomic structure, he's like, if you're not shocked by quantum mechanics, then you haven't understood it. And it's shocking. It's so shocking because what you find, and this is what he found, and I don't know why people don't talk about this, but it's like, no, there is no continuous range of values in that model. There are these discrete energy levels, these quantized energy. It's like, okay, this level is literally made of knowing that it's not this other level. There's the substance of all being is this knowing. And it's just knowing that these are the energy levels. So it's like, okay, wait a minute, there's no physical thing here. There's only this knowing potential. And it's potential because it can be any being. It can be the illusion of anything. It has the potential to be anything because it is not itself a thing. It is not limited. So it can take on all limitations, or the illusion of all limitations. And Bohr was shocked. Like, those guys were so, Bohr and Einstein, these guys were so close. Dirac, these guys were so close to taking this out of the illusion of the physical materialist paradigm. And I don't know, consciousness wanted to go this way for some reason. So, I don't know.
Damn. Well, I think we'll end it there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Seth. Awesome.
Yeah, and then, or, another thing is that maybe next time we can talk about other things, and just BS around about what you think, things are, but that the issue is like, you could talk about death or what it is, or you could talk about things, but you don't know. You're just BSing about it. You've forgotten. I don't know anybody that has remembered their death from another game. So this is the thing, is that it's fun to talk about stuff like that, but it's just playing around in your own ignorance. It's like, oh, it's fun to talk about these things, and oh, are there things such as angels and things like that? Yeah, you could pontificate and speculate or something, but I think the thing I really liked about non-duality is that no, it's really scientific. It's extremely scientific. It's all about knowing.
Rupert Spira.
What's occurring? Yeah, what's occurring? Rupert is. You could do I would just sit and do a lot of inquiries. The reason why his talks are good is because he just asks questions. He does his talking, but when he engages with the audience, he just tries to break down their assumptions. This little mountain here, these are all your assumptions. These beliefs are assumptions. So you have not tested them. Test them. And that's what Rupert's trying to do. He's trying to say, okay, well, you're assuming X. How do you know that? They don't have answers. So they start inquiring, and then they're, well, yeah, I never really thought about that. Okay. And he starts breaking down this mountain. A lot of people get to here and then no, I'm out of here. I don't want to go, Rupert. I don't want to go there, Rupert. So that's just what happens with a lot of people. And you can see them veering off on these crazy tangents. But
going down different sides of the mountain because they don't really want to go down the actual mountain.
So that's again why I say, make sure this is something. I mean, you don't have to. You can
do what you want. Yeah.
Do what you want. But by not being honest with yourself about what you want, then you're gonna say, oh, this teacher was no good, or this guy is full. Yeah, because you're the one that's not paying it. You're the one that's discrediting them. So you are the author. You're the authority. You're the one that's determining what is true and false for you. You're the one that's determining what proof is. Oh, prove that there's God. You're the one that's saying that there's no proof. If you're saying that there's no proof that there's God, you're the one that's saying the bar of evidence is not high enough. There's nothing I can do to prove anything to anyone. It's that perspective is the one that's preventing them from seeing the proof. They're saying, no, this is not the proof. So this is just the thing, is in this experiment, when nothing exists outside of consciousness, and then there's only consciousness, and this consciousness is knowing. So there's just all knowing here. Well, I'm sorry. That's what God is. God is all knowing. That's what it is. So there's nothing anywhere other than God here. So these fingers are God. This computer is God. There's nothing but God here. Well, prove it. Well, I did with the double-slit experiment. That's the proof. They'll say, well, that's not proof. Well, are you opening your eyes when you're walking around this world? Yeah. Are you bumping into objects? No, because I walk through spaces where nothing exists. Okay, well, the double-slit experiment is proving to you that little idea of seeing from light and everything is just proving to you that nothing exists anyway. Your little idea of seeing from light is totally bogus. It's false. Then now they get back to then that means all this is God. Yeah, it does.
Boom.
Yeah, and then you're fighting you're fighting the scientists because they're like, this is BS, and then you're fighting the religious people because they're like, no, I can't be God. Oh, no way, no, that's God. Blasphemy or something. No, God is all knowing. There is only knowing here. That's all there's here. So this is why this non-dual kind of understanding is a tough one in this world, because you have a lot of religion and you have a lot of science and there's no, they want to deny the truth. They want to deny the actual. So anyway, yeah, well, I like these little conversations, so it'd be great to come back and
Yeah, dude.
hopefully you make it out of your quarantine.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed it, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I go to work every day, so I'm an essential service. So I'm actually going to go and keep somebody's power on right now. So
awesome, thank you.
Take care, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Seth. God bless you. Peace.
Peace.